All right, let's be brutally honest here. We've all had that boss. That singular, soul-crushing human being whose existence makes you seriously consider quitting your job and moving to a remote island to raise goats. Just to escape the sheer, concentrated mediocrity of their management style. I had that boss. His name was Gary. And let me tell you, Gary was a masterpiece of incompetence wrapped in a bespoke suit. He wasn't just bad, he was toxic. He didn't manage, he simply hovered, collecting credit like they were Pokemon cards and dispensing blame like it was Halloween candy. The only thing Gary was truly dedicated to was finding new and exciting ways to avoid doing actual work. His brain was like a search engine that returned 0 results for the keywords accountability or documentation. But here's the kicker. I didn't just quit and go raise goats. I stayed, I worked under him, and when he finally, and foolishly, decided to fire me, I didn't send him a snarky resignation email. No, instead, I accidentally made his entire department suffer a financial meltdown that cost the company $14 million. Yes, you heard that right. $14 million. And the best part? It was all his fault. Every single penny of that multi-million-dollar disaster was a direct consequence of his incompetence. So grab your popcorn, maybe a lawyer, because this is the story of how my toxic boss fired me and I unintentionally became the ghost in the machine that made him pay for every single miserable meeting, every undeserved critique, and every single time he signed off on my work with a casual, "Yeah, looks fine, great job, Gary." To understand the beauty of this revenge, you have to understand the environment. We worked for a massive financial institution. Think important data. Think high-speed trading. Think systems that absolutely, under no circumstances, should ever fail. Even a tiny hiccup could translate into tens of thousands of dollars lost. And Gary? Gary was the head of the division responsible for the crown jewel of our data infrastructure, the Widget X migration project. Widget X was our lifeblood. It was a complex, sprawling beast of a system that managed the secure, real-time transfer of financial data between our old legacy servers and the new cloud environment. It was designed to prevent data silos and ensure compliance. It was a nightmare to build, but once running, it was glorious. It was the digital glue holding a billion-dollar machine together. My role was the senior data analyst and architect. I designed Widget X from the ground up. I knew its code, its quirks, its vulnerabilities, and its secrets better than Gary knew how to pronounce his own middle name. I lived and breathed this system for 18 months. Widget X was my baby. And Gary? Gary was the neglectful, overbearing step-parent who only showed up for the birthday party when the cameras were rolling. Gary's main skill was delegating tasks and then micromanaging the way they were delegated, adding no value whatsoever. He would hold 3-hour meetings that could have been summarized in a single, well-written email. He'd criticize our choice of programming language, despite not knowing how to code anything more complex than a microwave. If you tried to point out a technical risk, he'd just dismiss it with a condescending chuckle and some buzzword salad. That's not aligned with our current synergy, or we need to ensure maximum optics over that technical detail. The man was a walking, talking corporate screensaver. Now, because I was a paranoid, highly caffeinated professional who understood the devastating cost of a system failure, I built in a secret, undocumented, and deeply nested security feature. We called it Protocol 7 Gamma, but I affectionately referred to it as the S-word button. Protocol 7 Gamma wasn't a standard backup. It was a live, dynamic rerouting failsafe. Here's how it worked. If the main connection between the legacy servers and the new cloud environment dropped for more than 3 consecutive minutes, A massive red flag. Protocol 7 Gamma would instantly initiate a temporary, hyper-secure, peer-to-peer connection that routed the data through a tertiary server cluster. This ensured zero data loss during the main system's reboot or diagnostic phase. Crucially, it kept the financial streams flowing, preventing any of those million-dollar trading windows from closing. But here is the single glorious detail that Gary was too busy optimizing shareholder value to notice. Protocol 7 Gamma was designed to be a one-man emergency tool. It required my specific, unique admin ID, my_user_ID.datasec, to be logged into the environment for its internal maintenance loop to stay active. It wasn't actually running on my laptop. It was using my active session ID to verify administrative oversight. Why did I do this? Because I, and only I, was supposed to be the one monitoring that emergency failsafe. It was designed to prevent another tech from accidentally turning it off during a standard system check. I wrote it down in the deepest, darkest corner of the technical documentation. The kind of documentation Gary would usually skim for bolded keywords, then print, then promptly use as a coaster. I even tried to explain it to him once, using brightly colored flowcharts. Seriously, I spent an hour trying to explain redundant data pathways, and Gary just kept nodding and saying, "Yes, excellent optics, very strategic." I gave up. I figured I'll keep the key to the back door just in case this corporate buzzard ever decides to fly off a cliff, which, as you're about to find out, he absolutely did. The inevitable betrayal. Things went downhill fast after Gary hired a new manager, a lady we'll call Brenda. Brenda was basically Gary's shadow, nodding fiercely at his worst ideas and insulting the development team in meetings with a smile. She was fantastic at agreement, terrible at understanding anything more complicated than a spreadsheet. Gary, desperate for an ally who didn't look at him like he was an alien, started giving Brenda all the glory projects, including the oversight of Widget X. The tension was thick. I started pointing out genuine technical flaws in Brenda's proposed updates. I warned Gary that her team was neglecting essential server maintenance because they were focused on user experience front-end aesthetics that no one cared about. Gary hated this. He hated being questioned, and he hated that my logic was backed by empirical, non-buzzword data. My honesty was ruining his synergy. Then came Tuesday morning. I was neck-deep in debugging a routing issue that Brenda had created the week before. Gary walked in. He was wearing a new, suspiciously shiny tie, and his smile was colder than a freezer-burned popsicle. He announced, "We're going in a new, more aggressive direction, and frankly, your attitude, your pedantic focus on technical debt isn't a fit for the team's new collaborative spirit." I wanted to say, "Your synergy is currently crashing 3 servers, you magnificent idiot." But I was too shocked. He said I had 30 minutes to pack my things, effective immediately. My access was revoked instantly. The irony, the ultimate glorious irony. As the sad, silent HR guy escorted me to the elevator, Gary actually clapped me on the shoulder. He had the gall to say, with a totally straight face, "Don't worry, Widget X is self-sustaining. Brenda's got the reins now. We'll be fine." We'll be fine. Oh, Gary, you had no idea how wrong you were. The countdown. As the elevator doors closed on my miserable corporate life, a chill went through me that had nothing to do with the office air conditioning. I had packed my things, handed over my laptop, and I was officially logged out of the network. And that meant Protocol 7 Gamma, the silent, life-saving, backup heart of Widget X, had just started its 48-hour self-destruct sequence. Remember how the protocol required my admin ID, myuserid.datasec, to be actively logged in to maintain its internal maintenance loop? Well, the moment I handed over that laptop and my session was terminated, The protocol read that as a catastrophic loss of administrative oversight. It was designed that way on purpose. If the key tech was suddenly gone, the protocol assumed the system had been compromised. So the protocol didn't just shut down immediately. That would be too kind. Instead, it sent a ghost signal to the main system saying, "Hold tight, rerouting data is active," and set an internal timer, a 48-hour deadline. After those 48 hours, if my admin ID wasn't logged back in, the protocol would initiate a full, irreversible shutdown of the secure, temporary channel and send a final error message. Protocol 7 Gamma. Termination complete. Source link not found.
What did that mean for Gary and Brenda? It meant that for the next 2 days, the Widget X system would appear to be functioning perfectly. Data would flow. Gary would bask in the glory of his smooth, efficient, synergized firing. They wouldn't notice a thing because the temporary, highly secure channel was quietly carrying the burden, rerouting all the critical financial data. They wouldn't check the deep metrics. They wouldn't check the Protocol 7 Gamma logs. They'd just assume the main system was running flawlessly. Then, exactly 48 hours later, when the clock ran out, that temporary bridge would evaporate. The main system, which Brenda's team had been neglecting, would suddenly realize it had been disconnected from its data source for 2 days, and it would have a massive digital panic attack. I took my severance package and immediately flew to a small, remote coastal town. I was enjoying the kind of blissful, restorative freedom that only comes after escaping a truly hellish boss. I was sipping a suspiciously colorful umbrella drink, contemplating the merits of wearing socks with sandals. I was truly free when my phone buzzed. It was a text from the kind HR guy Steve who had escorted me out. He was always worried about liability. "Hey, this is weird. Just FYI, Widget X went down hard about an hour ago. Complete blackout. Gary is losing his mind. Thoughts?" I looked at the clock. It was precisely 48 hours and 5 minutes after I had left the building. Protocol 7 Gamma had done its job. I texted Steve back a single word: karma. But this was bigger than karma. This was an extinction-level event for Gary's career. The main system, which Brenda's team had been neglecting, would suddenly realize it had been disconnected from its data source for 2 days, and it would have a massive digital panic attack. Imagine a major highway. I had built the hidden bypass lane, Protocol 7 Gamma, and been using it silently. Gary and Brenda closed the main highway entrance, assuming the traffic would just fix itself. Then, I drove away and the bypass lane automatically closed behind me. The thousands of cars behind me, the data, had nowhere to go. The $14 million meltdown. The next 24 hours were pure chaos back at the firm. I was getting updates from Steve that were a blend of horror and schadenfreude. First, Gary tried to blame the old legacy server team, but the logs showed the main server had never initiated the transfer failure. It was the Widget X receiving system that had suddenly gone dark. Second, Brenda tried to blame a faulty firewall, but the security team confirmed no external breach. Finally, someone, probably a third-tier analyst who actually read the documentation, remembered my name and the deep, obscure mention of a Protocol 7 Gamma. Steve said the room went silent when they realized the failsafe I had built was running the entire show for 2 days, and that my logout had caused a time-delayed financial bomb to detonate. Here's where the money comes in. The 2 days of missing real-time trading data were lost to the ether.
They could eventually rebuild it through manual reconciliation, a process that would take months and cost millions in consulting fees. But the immediate cost was the fines. In the financial sector, a failure to report and reconcile real-time trading data is an enormous regulatory violation. The fines levied against the firm for the lack of compliance and the multi-day data failure were staggering. Steve sent me the unofficial memo, the initial regulatory fines, the cost of immediate third-party forensic data recovery specialists, and the losses from frozen trading windows added up to an estimated $14 million. $14 million. That's a lot of money to lose over attitude and synergy. The company, of course, went into full damage control. They didn't dare say publicly that an undocumented, private failsafe built by a fired analyst was the root cause. They blamed a complex, unforeseen technical flaw. But internally, the fallout was glorious. Gary, the master of delegation and credit-taking, was the one who signed off on the system being self-sustaining. Gary was the one who fired the only person who knew the truth. Gary was the one who, in his haste to promote his favorite nodding manager, Brenda, ignored every single warning. He was quietly and rapidly fired. His office, that temple of corporate jargon and empty motivational posters, was cleared out within the week. He didn't even get a severance package. Brenda, the golden girl, was demoted so fast she probably got whiplash. And me? They tried to get me back. Oh, did they try. I received a frantic, humiliating call from the chief technology officer himself. He offered me triple my salary, a new title, a corner office, and free lifetime snacks to come back, log into my old account, and show them how to disable the now expired Protocol 7 Gamma so they could begin the forensic manual data recovery. I politely told the CTO that while I appreciated the offer, I was currently busy developing a revolutionary new technique for perfectly crisping bacon, and unfortunately, my attitude wasn't a fit for their current synergy. I hung up, took a large sip of that suspiciously colorful umbrella drink, and watched the waves roll in. The $14 million was paid by a massive corporation, not Gary himself, but the cost to Gary was his entire career. He lost everything because he valued his ego more than competence and synergy more than technical truth. And that, my friends, is the only revenge that truly matters. So if you're dealing with a toxic boss right now, don't stress. Sometimes the best revenge is simply doing your job too well, building a teeny little financial bomb, and waiting for them to be stupid enough to light the fuse. If you loved this story of corporate collapse, be sure to hit that like button. Let me know in the comments below if you think the company actually deserved the $14 million fine for keeping Gary around so long. And don't forget to subscribe for more real-life karma stories. Peace out.